So, welcome to the lectures, the last lecture of our course on science and cooking. And as always with these lectures, I should acknowledge the sponsorship that we've been very fortunate to have. Jose Andres, who you will hear today, he's here.
No.
He's also a sponsor and a strong supporter of this course. The Alicia Foundation and Para Castells from the Alicia Foundation is here as well. Para. And he really does deserve this round of applause because they sponsor us really also intellectually. It's very important, the contribution they make. And they're sponsored by Montferrand. No, Montferrand also sponsor us. They're sponsored by the Catalunya Bank. Whole Foods on River Street supplied all the lab supplies because, after all, we do eat our labs in this course. Fusion Chef by Julaba supplied some of the immersion cookers. And new sponsors, Food and Wine and Lexus, have also sponsored the public lecture series. And so we thank all of the sponsors. And today, it's really an honor to summarize a bit about this course and the public lecture series. And we're really honored to have Ferran Adria, who, in a sense, was responsible for starting this course. He visited Harvard and gave a public lecture about 2.5, 3 years ago. And after his lecture, he and I sat down and asked what could we do to do something together, to collaborate somehow, to begin what Ferran called a dialogue between science and cooking. And my goal for a long time has been to teach science to non-scientists. And so in those days, Auger Campas, who's here, Michael Brenner, another professor, Amy Roat, and with Ferran, we started this class on using cooking to motivate the study of science. And really, we've had a lot of fun doing this. We've had enormous contributions from the chefs. Here are just a few of them who contributed this year. But after all, this class really is a science class. And so in addition to the cooking, we have all of our equations of the week. And it is, after all, one of the things I'm happiest about, that I can actually, all my life I've been trying to teach equations. I can actually now get people to cheer when they see equations. That's the second best thing that I've done. The best thing now is really, let me introduce Ferran Adria. He really needs no introduction. He has been really an inspiration to the class. And I'm not even going to tell you, I'm sure everybody here knows more about Ferran even than I do. So let me just give you Ferran.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening.
Buenas noches.
Bueno, antes que nada, muchas gracias a todos por estar aquí.
Thank you to everyone for being here tonight.
Y vamos a ver si pasamos 2 horas agradables.
And I hope we are going to be enjoying 2 very amazing hours together.
Hablando de cocina,
We're going to be talking about cooking,
de creatividad e innovación,
about creativity, about innovation,
¿no? Relacionado con la ciencia.
in relationship to science.
Hace 3 años,
3 years ago,
Harvard, Dave, Auger y el equipo me propusieron participar, ¿no?, con Harvard
3 years ago, Dave, with Oje, Harvard, all the team here, invite Ferran to spend some time with them.
Era una locura.
Was like a crazy idea at first.
Esta universidad tiene cientos de años.
Perdón?
Esta universidad tiene cientos de años
Yeah, this university has many hundreds of years, as you all know,
y nunca se había utilizado la cocina
and never before cooking was being used
dentro de lo que sería la educación.
within the parameters of education.
Hoy podemos decir que ha sido un éxito, es un éxito,
Today, on its second year, we can say it's been a total success
porque hay muchas universidades en el mundo que quieren replicarlo.
because right now is many other universities around the world that want to do exactly what has happened here over the last 2
Sí,
years.
yo estoy seguro que estamos delante de un momento muy importante
And he believes we are really in the middle of something very unique and very special.
cuando hablamos de la relación entre cocina y sociedad.
And especially when we are talking about the relationship between science and society and cooking.
Cooking,
Cooking
cuidado,
and society, and then science. If not, Dave is going to...
Understand.
This is it.
Understand.
Keep going.
Bueno,
I'm going to be fired.
para los que no están, ¿vale? No saben muy bien qué hemos hecho estos 2 años,
For the ones of you that probably have no clue what we've done over the last 2 years,
vamos a ver un vídeo
we're going to show you a video
del curso del año pasado, no de este.
of the course, the science and cooking course that happened last year. So take a look.
Welcome to everybody to this public lecture as part of our class on science and cooking.
This is a science class. This is not a cooking class.
It was a way of bringing science to cooking, and this was, of course, a dream come true.
La cocina es un lenguaje. Este lenguaje se puede hablar bien o se puede hablar mal.
Take samples through history of how people have cooked different ingredients different ways was just invaluable.
One needs to know why different materials have the phase diagrams they do.
Com més baixa la temperatura, més s'ha d'allargar el temps.
The exciting thing about a course like this is that we're beginning to look at it seriously and from a scientific and from a social point of view.
It's still a big topic of research, why there is elasticity, why there is viscosity.
So olive oil is the viscosity for excellence.
But it's very difficult to thicken anything that is hydrophobic like oil.
I el que parlarem demà es basa en les problemàtiques que causa la manteca de cacau en tot el treball de la xocolata.
I'm sure we can get the students to get interested in solving some of your chocolate mysteries.
When you're melting them in the sun, do they fall out? Freeze chocolate to keep it longer?
The equation of the week represents the balance that has to occur for proteins to unfold.
Flavor is, to me, more about smell than actually what's on the palate.
And the topic this week, which is emulsions, which is that we talked about the science of cheese.
Bueno, comencem amb un allioli.
So this week we're going to talk, we originally said gelation, but spherification is really...
Spherification comes from the word sphere.
Científicament s'ha descobert el valor alimentari de la Mediterrània i ens fa memòria a la ciència cada vegada.
The complex chemistry can be used to really make new foods, and you will see this with transglutaminates.
It became clear that cooking is about certainly some physics, some biology, but a lot of chemistry.
Is there a role for a chef that goes beyond manipulating ingredients?
Our 2%, it's about maybe 66 degrees Celsius.
I couldn't have any other science course that I would like more than food and science.
Y esto es un poco lo que hemos iniciado con el mundo de la ciencia en Harvard, ¿no?
And he believes this is what's happening right now by partnering at the physics department at Harvard, bringing science and cooking together.
Bueno, pues esto es lo que hicimos el año pasado.
So this is what happened last year, and you can clap.
Este año Este año creo que lo hemos mejorado.
He believes this year the course has gotten even better.
Entonces, yo creo en mi nombre y en el nombre de todos los cocineros dar las gracias a todo el equipo de Harvard,
So on behalf of Ferran and all the different chefs that were invited to participate, he really wants to thank Harvard,
a Pía, a Cristina,
Pia, Cristina,
a Luis,
Luis,
que han estado trabajando
who they work really very hard to
para
make
que
this
esto fuera
happen.
posible.
That they worked very hard to make sure that this was
Y también
possible.
a Harold McGee,
And obviously we couldn't, we had to mention Harold McGee,
seguramente la persona del mundo que yo creo que es más importante que hay en relación ciencia y cocina.
without a doubt the most important person in the world when we talk about the relationship of science and cooking.
Y que... Sí, porque sin ellos esto no tendría sentido.
Because without all these people that work so hard, this
Yo
wouldn't
lo he
be
visto
possible.
muchas veces este vídeo
And he has seen this video many, many times,
y me continúo emocionando
and you know he gets very emotional
porque es que esto es Harvard,
because guys, this is Harvard,
¿no? Y somos cocineros.
and we are cooks.
¿No? Claro, ahora parece normal,
May seem normal now,
pero hace 5 años,
but 5 years ago,
en ninguna mente lo podíamos pensar.
no one will ever thought that this was possible.
¿Ves? El por qué yo acepté esto.
Why Ferran took the challenge of coming to Harvard and do this?
Porque yo continuamente entiendo que para poder crear tienes que tener un sentimiento de que quieres aprender siempre.
Because he's very sure that in order to create, you have to have the willingness, the desire to be challenged, to be learning from other parts
Normalmente
away from
cuando-
your business.
Cuando hago conferencias sobre innovación,
When he gives a conference about innovation in cooking,
empiezo con una naranja.
he very often begins with an orange.
¿No? ¿Por qué?
Why?
¿Sabéis cuántos tipos de cítricos? Sabéis que esto es una naranja, ¿no?
Okay, every one of you, this is an orange. You know that,
¿No?
right?
Ja. Cuidado. Cuidado. ¿Qué tipo de naranja es?
Okay, what type of an orange it is? Can you raise your hand, please?
¿Quién? El que se levante. Ok. ¿Cuántos tipos de cítricos hay?
How many types of citrus are out there in the world? 80.
2.500.
You're close. 2,000. No, close, relative. 2,500.
Saber de cítricos
To know about citrus,
harían falta varias vidas.
probably you will have to live many lives.
Es imposible.
Probably it's impossible to know.
Saber de
everything.
dónde es originaria la naranja, ¿no?
You know where the orange is from?
¿Lo has dicho? De Valencia.
Florida.
Florida, claro. Sí.
It's
Yes.
used to be a state from Spain.
De la China.
From China. India, Myanmar.
¿Sabéis quién las incorporó al mundo occidental?
Do you know who was the person that kind of he brought the citrus from Asia to Occident, to Europe? Marco Polo, some people say.
Los árabes.
The Arabs.
Estamos en Harvard, ¿eh? Esto es
Ya,
Harvard, esto...
Pero los profesores están de
bueno,
vacaciones.
pero claro, los profesores
The professors
los
are on
profesores
vacation.
de antropología no están, ¿no?
Okay, the anthropology and the history teachers are not here today.
Bueno, y una cosa muy interesante, habéis reflexionado por qué, siendo originario de China, no hay platos, o casi no se utilizan los cítricos en la cocina china.
And think about this for a second. No? Something very interesting is that actually, if orange and the citrus are coming from Asia, from China, orange and citrus are not kind of used a lot in Asian and Chinese cooking.
¿No?
Food for thought.
Es bastante... sí, food for thought, sí, sí.
Okay, I added that.
Ok. Bueno, ahora, ¿qué pasa? Como vemos, es muy difícil saber de naranjas.
So you see, it's very difficult to know about oranges
¿No?
because it's a lot to know.
Pero hay miles de productos en la cocina.
So this is an orange, but we have thousands of products in cooking.
Bueno, sí, es imposible saber.
It's impossible to know about everything.
Ah, pero bueno, pero como somos cocineros sí que sabemos de cocina.
Ah, no, but hold on a second. Because we are cooks, we know about cooking.
De cocina sabemos mucho,
About cooking, we know a lot.
¿no? Vamos a hacer una prueba.
Oh my, we are going to do a test.
Uno de los mejores cocineros del mundo, de los chefs del mundo, es José Andrés. Understand, ¿no? ¿No? In the best chef in the world, es José Andrés. ¿Ok? Esto... Question.
The mic is not
The
working.
question.
So question.
4 platos con naranja de Brasil. Traduce.
So he's asking 4 dishes with oranges from Brazil. He's asking for 4.
1.
Okay.
No use orange, no mermelada orange. ¿Ok? ¿Qué?
One of them.
No. Ey,
Okay, he doesn't want me to
ok,
answer.
ey. Ferran Adrià tampoco lo sabe.
Ferran Adrià doesn't know it either.
Ni David Chan tampoco, que tenemos aquí David Chan.
And we have David Chang from New York. David Chang doesn't
Ni
know
Carlos,
it either.
Ni Carlos Tejedor tampoco.
And Carlos Teixedo,
Ni el Pérez. O sea, no, yo no lo sé.
we don't know about citrus from Brazil.
Entonces, empiezo la conferencia así,
So he begins the conference like that with the orange,
para decirle a la gente que no sabemos nada.
only to send a message to the people that actually we don't know anything about anything.
Es decir, que o enfocas así la creatividad,
Or you start concentrating and focusing on creativity like that in a very humble way,
con mucha humildad,
with a lot of humility,
o estás muerto.
or you're dead.
No, pero yo solo oír a listillos.
Usually he only listens to few people out there that they think they are very, very smart and know
La gente
everything
sabe de
about
todo.
cooking. And they know about everything.
Sí, yo estoy sentado en una mesa
You know, he's there in a table
y
eating.
mis amigos,
Some of his friends,
mi familia,
his family members,
a mí me discute de cocina.
and they challenge him on cooking issues.
Y digo,
All the
bueno,
time.
No, sí.
Say, okay,
Vamos,
yeah.
vamos, ¿qué quieres que le diga?
What I'm going to tell them. Everyone knows everything about cooking.
Bueno, ok. Entonces, por esto estoy en Harvard,
So that's the reason he's at Harvard,
porque aquí se puede aprender mucho.
because he believes here he can learn a lot.
Es una experiencia que no tiene precio.
It's an experience that has no price.
Ayer estábamos, o antes de ayer, con Dave, hablando del nuevo curso,
The other day he was talking with Dave about the new course next year,
y somos muy ambiciosos.
and it's a lot of ambition in the next course, in what we want to do,
De que este curso sirva muchas veces para plantearte hasta qué es la educación.
because sometimes even something like this, a course on science and cooking, can be a good way to start thinking about what education really is all about.
Bueno, ok, esto es por lo que estamos aquí.
That's the reason why he's here.
Ahora vamos a hablar un poco de lo que trata hoy de la conferencia.
So now we're going to be talking about what's going to be the conference today all about.
Yo normalmente nunca tienen que ver con los títulos,
Sometimes has nothing to do with the title they give here,
pero claro, si no es lo normal, ¿no? 8 meses antes preguntan, ¿de qué tienes que hablar?
because 8 months before they call you, what are you going to talk about?
Y pones un título, ¿sabes?
And you put a title.
Esto ahí os pasa mucho a vosotros, no digáis que no.
Come on, this happens to you too. Don't laugh.
Pero en este caso vamos a enfocar un poco para el título.
So, but he's going to try to go with the title of the conference.
Y
Let's see
aquí
where we end.
tenemos que hacer un poco un ejercicio mental,
So here we're going to have to do a mental exercise.
porque vamos a hablar de innovación, de
Because we're gonna be
creatividad,
talking-
de transformación,
We're going to be talking about innovation, creativity, and transformation.
¿vale? Y ponerlos en todas vuestras disciplinas.
And he wants every one of you used to try to put yourselves in the area you come from. Doesn't matter if it's humanities or science or
Yo siempre digo que
history.
las conferencias de innovación no valen para nada.
So he's saying that the conference about innovations, they are worthless. They're good for nothing.
No, solamente para concienciar.
Only to conscience people about the
Porque-
issues you're talking about.
Cada uno tenéis un problema,
Because probably every one of you in this room, you have a problem.
que no tiene nada que ver con el de al lado.
And your problem has nothing to do with the problem of the
Por
person
ejemplo,
next door.
en nuestro mundo,
For example, in our world,
un bar en Cambridge,
a bar in Cambridge,
un restaurante de José Andrés tuyo en Los Ángeles, por ejemplo.
one of my restaurants in Los Angeles,
Una empresa de catering en Madrid.
a catering company in Madrid.
Lo que podamos hablar de innovación casi no tiene que ver nada uno con el otro.
We are going to be talking about innovation, and probably has nothing to do, the talk about innovation, one restaurant or one concept or one business, one with each other. There are different issues and different challenges,
Diferentes problemas,
different problems,
¿no? Diferentes países.
different countries.
Lo que sí que vale es la actitud.
What is very important is the attitude towards solving that problem.
Estamos en una sociedad o te transformas
You know, today, or you transform yourself,
o igual mueres.
or maybe you die, or you're out of business, he's trying to
Muchas,
say.
muchas veces es más importante transformarte que innovar.
Sometimes it's more important to transform yourself than to innovate.
¿No? Entonces vamos a explicar un poco la historia del bulli.
So he's going to try to tell us about the history of El Bulli.
Yo llegué en el año 83
He arrived to El Bulli in 1983.
y de hacer un stage.
He arrived there to do a stage, to work for free in the kitchen.
Estaba en servicio militar.
He was in the military service in Spain.
En el año 84, con 22 años, me quedé de jefe de cocina.
1984, with 22, when he was 22 years old, he became the chef de cuisine at El Bulli.
¿Okay? Hacer una composición. ¿Okay? 22 años,
22 years,
España,
Spain,
allí un restaurante,
a restaurant,
uno de los mejores restaurantes que había en España,
one of the best restaurants that was in Spain at the moment.
pero pero ¿qué pasaba? Que en el año 83 la cocina no era importante a nivel social.
But what happened? That in 1983, cooking was not important in society, was not what it is today.
Y la cocina, bueno, era un mundo solo para, ¿no? Muy endogámico.
And cooking was a very close world, was a world for the people that love cooking, and that's it. It didn't reach many other areas
Y la
of society.
gente, ¿no? Y España no era nadie en cocina en el mundo.
And Spain was almost nobody in cooking when you talk about the world.
No España, ningún país.
Actually, no Spain, no country.
Solo uno,
Only was one country
en alta cocina.
at the high level avant-garde cooking,
Francia.
and that country was France,
Okay.
East France.
Año 84,
1984,
bueno, alta cocina.
avant-garde cooking,
No, avant-garde no, alta cocina.
high-end cooking.
Cuidado.
Sorry, avant-garde cooking at the time. High-end cooking was France.
¿Eh? Y todos los cocineros es lo que hacíamos.
And all the cooks at the time, that's what we were doing. The
La nouvelle-
high-end cooking influenced by France of the time
La nouvelle cuisine.
is what we know as Nouvelle Cuisine.
Estamos hablando de Occidente, ¿eh?
And we are talking about Europe. We are talking about Occident.
Europe y América.
Sorry, Europe and America, the civilized world.
Porque Asia era pues, otro mundo.
Because
En cocinar.
Asia, for
En
us
cocinar.
in cooking, was another world.
¿Ok? Y yo, en el bulli, lo que hacíamos era nouvelle cuisine.
And what he was doing at El Bulli was Nouvelle Cuisine, influenced by France.
En el 1987,
1987,
lo que hicimos fue decir, hombre, ¿por qué no hacemos una versión de la nouvelle cuisine Bueno,
So-
una nueva cocina catalana, primero, después española.
So in 1987, he asked himself, why we don't do a nouvelle cuisine? Spanish, then more Catalan,
Y le dían el sabor del Mediterráneo, le decíamos. El sabor-
and he called it El Sabor del Mediterráneo or The Taste of the Mediterranean, who become a book.
El Bulli era un restaurante, como ahora,
El Bulli was a restaurant,
más o menos,
like now, more or less,
es decir, 50 personas,
more or less 50
más o
people.
menos, y habíamos 10 meses.
And we were open around 10 months a year.
¿Ok? Bueno, restaurante. Y vamos con el vídeo.
And he's going to put us a
En
video.
el año 87
In 1987,
tomamos una decisión.
he made a big decision.
Vamos a cerrar 6 meses.
We're going to go from 10 to 6 months. We're going to close the other 6.
Y tú vayas a decir, hostia, ¿qué estrategia?
Wow, what a strategy, everyone was thinking.
No, es que no viene a nadie
Well, no one was coming.
a comer, ¿eh?
Eat. No one was coming to eat.
Estábamos en la Costa Brava
We were in the Costa Brava, in the northern part of the coast in Catalonia,
y en el invierno
and in winter,
no viene nadie.
no one was there in winter time.
¿No? Ahora puede sonar a chiste,
You're going to think this is a joke,
pero no es verdad, tuvimos que cerrar. Entonces, ¿qué
but
hicimos?
was not a joke.
¿Qué hicimos?
Was better to close.
Tiempo.
So
¿No? Tiempo.
what they did was they created time, tiempo.
En el año 1993
In 1993,
nos damos cuenta que para hacer cosas tienes que tener la mejor instalación.
he realizes that in order to be successful cooking and doing new things, he had to have the best possible restaurant, the best possible kitchen.
Y hacemos una cocina
And they create a kitchen
que hoy aún es la cocina más vanguardista que yo conozco.
that still he believes today, so many years later, is the most avant-garde, most modern kitchen that he knows.
Es decir, instalaciones.
So the infrastructure was very important to make
Y-
him successful
Y nos permite tener un equipo
and allows him to have a team
para producir
to produce
¿no? lo que teníamos en la cabeza.
whatever, to produce and to create whatever he had in his mind.
¿Eh? En el año, y vamos creando,
So they create, they innovate, they keep moving forward.
pero llega un momento que no tenemos bastante tiempo
So it's one moment that they don't have enough time to create.
y creamos más tiempo.
And they try to create more time to have time to create.
¿Eh? Y separamos la creatividad de la producción.
And in that moment, they
Isa, ¿puedes
separate
pararlo? ¿Puedes pararlo?
creativity from
Vale.
production. The
Esto-
cooking will be the production, but the time to innovate will be, the moment of creation will be separated from
Okay.
the cooking moment of having the restaurant open.
Esto es muy,
Yes?
esto es muy importante.
This is a very important concept.
Si creamos el primer taller de cocina de la historia.
He created the first taller, the first workshop of creation on cooking.
Es decir, separamos
He was able to separate
la producción
what is production
de la creatividad
from creativity
durante 6 meses.
during 6 months.
¿Ok? Solo estamos creando y no servimos comida en invierno.
During winter, they are only creating, but they are not serving food to people.
Y durante los otros 6 meses
And during the other 6 months,
abrimos el restaurante,
we open the doors to the restaurant.
y combinamos la producción con la creatividad.
And during those 6 months, he kind of mixes production with the creativity at the same time.
Es decir, en el taller
In El Taller, in his workshop,
podríamos decir que investigamos
is pure research
de una manera muy científica,
in a very scientific way,
pero en el proceso, ¿eh?
a very scientific process.
Prueba, error, prueba, error, prueba, error.
You know, test and error, test and error.
Y en el bulli, en el restaurante,
And at the restaurant,
hacemos un proceso, si queréis, más artístico,
you know, he had a process that you could say, is more artistic.
Sí, creamos los platos.
We are creating the dishes.
Hay una película que se llama El Bulli Cooking in Progress,
It's a movie that which is called El Bulli, Cooking in Progress,
que se ve perfectamente cómo se hace.
that you see that moment of creativity and production.
Sí, con esto tenemos más tiempo
With this model, he has more time
y más eficacia.
and they are a lot more efficient
En cocina
in cooking.
es mucho más productivo,
In cooking, it's a lot more productive,
al menos para nosotros,
at least for him, for his team,
separar investigación de creatividad.
to separate research from creativity.
Muy fácil. En el año 1995,
In the year 1995,
igual hacíamos 35 recetas nuevas
they used to do around 35 new recipes per year, per season.
y en el 2000, por ejemplo, 6 hacíamos 120.
And in the year 2006, they were able to do around 120 recipes, 4
Okay.
times more.
Todas estas decisiones eran
All of those decisions
para una transformación,
were made to have a transformation,
para seguir creando.
to being able to keep creating.
Entonces hacemos este taller, muy
So
bonito.
they do this taller, this workshop
Es muy importante recordar
in
esto
downtown
porque
Barcelona.
después cuando hablemos del Bulli Foundation,
Remember this moment because later when he is going to speak, he's going to talk about El Bulli Foundation.
¿no? Veréis. Y entonces aquí éramos un equipo de 5 o 6 personas.
Here they were a team of 4 or 5 persons.
Albert Adrià, Oriol Castro,
Albert Adrià, Oriol
Eduard
Castro,
Chatruc,
Chatruc,
un equipo que éramos el equipo creativo.
was the creative team that will work out of this
En el,
workshop.
en el 2001, cuando el Bulli empezaba a ser famoso,
2001, El Bulli very slowly becomes more and more famous.
decidimos cerrar al mediodía.
They decide to close at lunchtime, only dinner.
Lo lógico era abrir todo el año.
Maybe the most logical thing was to open the entire year. They were very popular. Everyone was calling.
Cerramos al mediodía.
Boom, we go and only 6 months
Dejamos-
and only dinner time.
Dejamos de ganar
Very smart business.
Dejamos de ganar 1 millón de euros al año.
This meant that they stopped from, they lost kind of $1 million in potential sales by making that decision of closing lunch. $1 million.
Más tiempo.
But they gained more time.
Por la
Time
mañana.
again.
Por la mañana.
More time to create.
En el 2001 también decidimos quitar la carta.
In 2001, another big decision. They decided to take the menu away. No more menus.
Un restaurante.
For the bloggers.
Es la primera vez en la historia
First time in the history
moderna que un restaurante de alto nivel.
that a restaurant of a very high-end cooking
¿Por qué?
decides to take the menu away. No menu. Why?
Libertad.
Liberty, freedom.
Esto lo sé escribir en inglés. Esto es freedom. Freedom.
Freedom.
En el año 2002,
2002,
stop, decidimos hacer una retrospectiva.
They decide to do a retrospective of everything that happened in El Bulli
Porque empezamos a hacer una obra que se llama el Catálogo General,
because they began working in a new thing which they call the General Catalog,
son 8.000 páginas,
which more or less it's a big book, over 8,000 pages,
8.000 páginas,
8,000,
y necesitamos tiempo.
and they needed the time to do that,
También para limpiarnos la cabeza,
and also to try to help with the mental organization.
pero cuando acabamos esto,
But when
este
he
año,
finishes this,
nos damos cuenta de lo que estábamos haciendo era un análisis.
when they finished that catalog of every single recipe they did until then, he understood only then that what he was doing was an analysis
De nuestro trabajo.
of his own work.
Y una auditoría creativa.
And they were doing an auditory, an audit. They were doing an audit, a creative audit of everything they did over the last so many years.
Y esto es imprescindible.
And this is something like you cannot live without.
¿Por qué?
Everyone has to do that.
Porque si no te copias,
Why? Because if not, you are beginning to copy yourself.
bueno, poca gente quiere hacer esto.
Not a lot of people want to do this.
Las grandes empresas las grandes empresas del mundo,
Some of the biggest companies around the world,
yo soy asesor de algunas,
you know, he is one of the advisors to some of them.
no lo tienen.
They don't do that.
Empresas que tienen 2-3 mil millones de dólares en I+D.
Companies that they have sometimes hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars in research and development.
Hay
Big budget.
auditorías económicas,
Sometimes you see economic audits,
¿eh? Pero no
Financial
de creati-
audits.
no de creatividad.
but no audits about creativity.
Es durísimo esto,
This is very, very hard
porque claro, vas a ver qué haces cada año.
because there you really see what you are doing every year and if you are doing anything new or not. It's
Vale.
kind of a reality check in
Vale.
the creative world.
Y entonces en el 2003 empieza el éxito del Bulli,
So 2003 already El Bulli really is becoming a true success story,
es una locura,
craziness all
No.
around.
y llega el 2009
And then we get to the year 2009
y yo empiezo a ver que pasa algo.
and he sees that something is happening, something is in
Y-
the air.
Y todo esto que estamos viendo, que son momentos de transformación,
And all these things that we are seeing, that is a moment of transformation over the last few years,
¿vale? Yo dije, ahora aquí falta una gran transformación.
now we need a really true, big, meaningful transformation.
Entonces decidimos,
And he decides,
decidí,
he himself decides,
en el Bulli nunca le habíamos dado un premio al equipo, nunca habíamos tenido un premio, una fiesta, nada, no habíamos hecho nunca.
he thought that after so many years of hard work, he never gave an award to his team. They never did a party to celebrate all the things that they achieved over the last so many
Digo,
years.
¿qué mejor premio que tener 2-3 años sabáticos?
The best gift I can give to my team and my key employees is to have 2 or 3 sabbatical, 3 years on a sabbatical, doing
Oh.
nothing.
Bueno, entonces se lo comento primero a mi familia,
So first he speaks to his family.
me dice, ¿estás loco?
You're crazy.
A mi socio,
To his partner, Yuli,
también está loco.
you are really crazy.
Y
He
el
does.
equipo dice, bueno, esto es mentira.
And the team told him, come on, give me a break. It's not true.
Pensaban todos que era una maniobra,
You know, everyone thought that he was doing a maneuver
¿no? Para algo raro.
for something strange, very typical.
No, es verdad. Bueno, entonces yo dije, bueno, lo tengo que explicar, digo, en vez de explicarlo uno a uno,
So, you know, instead of explaining this one-on-one,
lo explico en una rueda de prensa,
I'm going to do a press conference.
bueno, y en 26 de enero del 2010, en Madrid Fusión,
The 26th of January of 2010 in the conference Madrid Fusión in Madrid.
lo explico.
In this huge press conference, he tells the world about what he was about to do.
Esto es un tema serio, ¿eh? Lo digo porque yo aunque explico cosas de humor, con humor,
And this is a very serious issue, okay?
el día 27 de enero,
2 days later, the 27th of January,
en Financial Times,
the Financial Times,
en la portada,
in the front cover,
el Bulli cierra 2 años.
El Bulli closes 2 years.
Se han vuelto locos. El mundo se ha vuelto loco.
He says, oh, they're crazy. The world is crazy.
Estamos juntos en Madrid
We were together in Madrid,
y nos dejemos el teléfono, ¿te lo recuerdas?
and,
Me dejé yo el teléfono en el
and-
hotel,
and he forgot his telephone in the hotel
después de la conferencia.
after the conference. So he
¿Vale?
was-
Y estábamos allí con gin tonics.
and we were
en fin.
and we were having gin and tonics,
Y yo
wow,
di-
celebrating the moment.
y yo hablando, no, esto no, la verdad es que no va a tener mucha incidencia esto del...
No, I don't think this is going to have any repercussion. That's, you know,
Para que digo, nadie me está llamando.
no one is really calling.
Claro,
nothing.
si no tenía el teléfono.
Yeah, no phone.
El día siguiente, todas las portadas en España.
Next
¿vale?
day, all the front covers, all the newspapers in Spain, El Bulli is closing.
Yo digo, pero estás loco.
You're crazy.
Digo, pero si simplemente, ¿no? Vamos a hacer.
I only said that I was taking a break.
Aquel
for 2
día
years.
nos dimos cuenta que el Bulli no era un restaurante.
That day, they realized that El Bulli really was something more than a restaurant.
¿No? Bueno, entonces, bueno, yo digo, pero esto no pasa nada.
Okay, nothing is happening here.
¿Vale? Me empiezan a llamar el mundo político, en España,
Politicians began calling.
los colegas, esto se ha vuelto loco, Ferran.
The best chefs around Europe, around the world, his friends,
No, yo digo,
they
oye,
all began calling.
Oye, que
Ferran, what's happening?
que voy a volver.
And he told everyone, hey, I'm coming back,
Bueno,
relax.
como estamos en una sociedad
Because we are in a society
que lo importante es lo épico,
that what is truly important has to be epic, has to be,
y el drama,
and the important things are those things that are really dramatic.
¿no? No era ni épico ni dramático de decir, mira, el Bulli se toma 2 años y medio para volver, se va a transformar o tal.
So, this was not really dramatic for him. I'm closing 2 years, I'm gonna take a break, we're gonna reopen, we are transforming ourselves.
¿No? Lo épico era, está arruinado.
What really was
Dramatic.
dramatic for the newspapers and for the news world was to say, Ferran Adrià is broken.
Ferran Adrià
Financially
se ha enfadado con su socio, con su hermano.
Ferran Adrià has gotten into a fight with his partner and or his brother.
Ferran Adrià ya no tiene ideas.
Ferran Adrià has no more ideas. His brain has gone dry.
No. Ferran Adrià no aguanta la presión.
Ferran Adrià cannot handle the pressure any longer. Drama, epic,
No, sí.
a movie.
Yo digo, están locos, pero ¿qué te pasa?
But people, you are nuts. You're crazy. What's wrong with you?
Pero por primera vez en mi vida
But for first time in his life,
me doy cuenta que las especulaciones podían matar cualquier proyecto.
he realizes that the speculation could kill any project, could kill any dream.
Entonces, una de las posibilidades que había,
So one of the possibilities that he had
no,
ahead
perdona,
of him.
entonces, perdona, hablo con mi mujer
So he speaks with his wife, Isabel.
y digo, tenemos que hacer algo.
They have to do something, obviously. They have to
Hay que explicar
take action.
algo.
They have to explain something more clearly.
Bueno, y digo, ¿qué posibilidades tenemos?
So what possibilities we have ahead of us?
Una, irnos de vacaciones.
Number one, let's go on a vacation.
No 1 year, no. Es 14 years. No. Sí.
Forever, vacation forever.
Sí. Era lo fácil.
That was the easy,
No.
the easy way.
Un mito, el Bulli es un mito.
Okay, El Bulli is going to be a myth forever and ever. Ferran
Conference,
has disappeared.
conference,
No more conferences.
money.
Yeah,
tal.
conferences, money,
¿no?
maybe money.
Y entonces mi mujer me dice,
So his wife, Isabel, tells him,
si haces esto es que eres un cobarde.
if you do this and you quit forever and you don't try to do something else with El Bulli, that means you are a coward.
Con la que has liado,
With all the mess you've created with the announcement of
No,
taking a sabbatical, a 2-year
no, has liado con la ilusión, con la pasión de la gente.
with everything he has done, Ferran El Bulli, over the last 20, 25 years, creating passion into young generations, creating this new kind of new vibe into the culinary world. There's no way you're going to be quitting now in the middle of this amazing moment.
Era como dejar el partido a media parte, ¿no?
So this was like, if we are talking about football or soccer, it's like quitting half time.
Bueno, ok, digo, vale, vamos a buscar una solución.
He didn't want to be a coward. Isabel was right. He thought, let's find a solution. What El Bulli can transform itself into.
¿Qué necesitamos?
What do we need?
Equipo, el mejor equipo,
He needed the best possible team.
el máximo de tiempo,
He had that. He
No.
needed the most possible amount of time.
la máxima libertad,
He wanted the maximum possible freedom.
la máxima capacidad de análisis,
He wanted the maximum potential of analysis that he could have around him,
y el máximo de eficacia.
And he had to have a lot of efficiency
Y de-
in the work he
De una
was
manera
about to do.
subconsciente
So your subconsciousness.
salió a hacer un think tank de cocina.
So in a subconscious way, is how at the end the idea of having a think tank of cooking kind of born.
Pero esto fue así, ¿eh?
But this
Vamos-
happened in between gin tonic and gin tonic.
¿Eh? Entonces, no, esto no es verdad.
No.
Lo expliqué a finales de febrero.
He explained that at the end of February.
La presión ya dejó un poco,
The pressure of his announcement already was kind of dying down.
pero nadie creía en el proyecto.
But kind of no one really was believing in the project
Es normal.
of creating this new kind of transformation of El Bulli.
Es normal.
That was normal.
Un restaurante o se abre o se cierra.
A restaurant, you open the restaurant or you close the restaurant.
No se transforma.
But you don't transform the restaurant.
Dice, un restaurante en un centro de creatividad, en think tank,
You are transforming a restaurant into a center of creativity, into a think tank of cooking, of food.
nadie lo entendía.
No one was able to understand that transformation.
Estamos un año y medio,
So, you know,
un
1
año,
year and a half passed
hasta el 30 de julio,
until the 30th of July of this last
viviendo,
year.
viviendo en este, ¿no? Que
Living in
duda,
this, living in this kind of a cloud, in this kind of a doubt
llega
of
el,
what
30,
to do.
¿no? Llega el 30 de julio
And the 30th of July
y es el último día del Bulli como restaurante.
is the last day of El Bulli, this last 30th of July, the last day of El Bulli as a restaurant.
Todo el mundo creía que estábamos, ¿no? Tristes.
Everyone thought that Ferran, that his team, that they were kind of very sad.
La gente que me conoce me decía,
People that know me,
sí, Ferran, ¿qué le pasa?
what's wrong with Ferran?
Porque de momento soy bastante serio trabajando.
Because usually he's very serious.
Y ese día un poco bueno,
And that day, you saw.
¿por qué?
Why?
Porque yo sabía que no se acababa.
Because he was happy because he knew that that was not the end.
El 30 de julio no era el último día,
The 30th of July was not the last day.
era el primer día del nuevo proyecto.
Was the first day of the new project.
¿Ah? Bueno, entonces, ¿cómo está este proyecto?
This new project, where are we?
Bueno, empezamos a trabajar hace 8 o 9 meses
We began working 9 months ago,
y ya lo tenemos bastante adelantado a nivel conceptual.
and you know, conceptually, we have a very clear idea of what are we doing, what the new project is all about, the foundation.
Bueno, el Bulli está, como hemos dicho, en Cala-Montjuïc, en Girona, en Cataluña.
As you know, El Bulli is in Cala-Montjuïc, in the province of Girona, in Catalonia.
Está en un parque natural maravilloso.
It's in the middle of a beautiful natural park.
Se llama el Parque Natural del Cap de Creus.
It's the natural park of Cap de Creus, is the
Mirad.
name.
Y es maravilloso, pero tiene un problema,
And it's beautiful, but has a little problem.
que hay que hacer una edificación muy especial.
That you cannot build anything you want because it's a natural park.
Pero un problema lo convertimos en una virtud.
But a problem, they kind of transform it into a great opportunity,
Entonces-
into a virtue.
Cogimos a un arquitecto especialista en arquitectura sostenible
They hire an architect that is an expert on environmentally sound architecture.
¿vale? Y empezó a trabajar conceptualmente en que se tenía que convertir en un workshop sobre energía sostenible.
And at the end, you know, the idea was that conceptually, this restaurant had to be like a workshop in sustainable energy.
Con la Fundación Tecnalia, que es una fundación
With the Foundation Tecnalia,
bueno, especialista en todo lo energía sostenible,
which is a foundation that specializes in sustainable energy,
vamos a trabajar para que esté lo último de lo último cada año en energía sostenible.
is to make sure that they're going to be having at El Bulli Foundation the latest technology on sustainable energy.
El master plan,
So the master plan of
que
El
ha
Bulli
cambiado
Foundation,
algo ahora,
which is changing from
Sobre
what
todo-
you are about to see,
sobre todo esto que estamos viendo,
especially what you are about to see right now,
La primera función del Bully Foundation era ser un archivo del Bully Restaurante.
The first role of the El Bulli Foundation was to be an archives of El Bulli restaurant.
¿Vale? Esto es importante porque ahora en Barcelona va a haber una exposición sobre el Bulli.
It's very important to make the difference because in Barcelona city, very soon, in few months, is going to be an exhibition about El Bulli.
El 31 de enero.
The 31st of January 2012 will begin.
Después irá a Nueva York, a Londres, a
And
diferentes...
then probably they will visit New York, London, Boston,
Donde se explica un... A Washington no.
Washington.
Ah. Y al hacerla nos dimos cuenta de la cantidad de material que teníamos.
So working on this exhibition that is going to be moving around the world, they realized how much material they had in their hands.
Entonces, esta parte
So this part of El Bulli Foundation,
va a ir fuera de Calamonjoy, de donde estaba el Bulli.
so this part that he's showing you right now is going to be away from Calamonjoy, away from Cap de Creus.
¿Vale?
It's
En
going to be
Rosas.
built somewhere else, few kilometers away, in the town of Rosas.
Y habrá una exposición fija,
And in Rosas, you will see a exhibit,
muy interactiva,
very interactive.
muchas veces para explicar creatividad
Very often, they're going to use it to explain creativity
y felicidad.
and happiness.
¿Ah? Y entonces esto va afuera. Vamos con el play. Es decir, que esto...
So what you're about to
El
see,
proyecto-
and this is not going to be in Calamonjoy, where El Bulli restaurant is now, that is being transformed into El Bulli Foundation. This is going to be in the town of
¿vale?
Rosas.
Con esto que pasa que es un work in progress.
So this is going to be great because it's a work in progress.
Es decir, que aún podremos cambiar cosas.
They will be able to be changing as they evolve and they change.
De lo que se va a quedar en Calamonjoy, que es la función principal,
What is going to be at Calamonjoy, which is the principal function
Es el
of
thi-
this
el think
foundation,
tank.
is the think tank.
y para esto vamos a hacer nuevos edificios.
And for that, they're going to be building, they're going to do new buildings.
Uno es lo que llamamos idearium,
This one you see, they call it idearium, which comes from ideas,
donde,
idearium,
sí, donde el lugar para tener ideas.
which will be the place to have ideas.
Este es un sitio precioso que está en el mar.
It's a beautiful place by the sea.
El 80% de la gente de los días no hay nadie. 80% de los días no hay nadie en la playa.
80% of the time is no one in the beach, is no one in Calamonjoy.
Otro espacio va a ser donde nos vamos a reunir el equipo,
Another space is where the entire team are going to be meeting.
¿no? Es decir, tienes ideas, te reúnes para hablarlas.
So you have ideas on your own, and then you move to this other area to talk about those ideas.
Tenemos 30 personas,
More or less, it will be 30 people.
¿no? Y como vemos es un edificio especial.
As you can see, it's a very special building.
¿eh? Un poco es un lugar para tener reuniones,
It's a place to have meetings,
para poder entrar en internet, como esto, un poco.
to get in internet,
Y
a place like this,
y también para ver el Barça Madrid también, ¿vale?
and also to watch Barcelona Real Madrid, especially if you are from
O sea, aquí,
Barcelona.
¿no? Vale. Y después el lugar
But also,
es la cocina,
the other place is the kitchen, as is right now,
la creatividad práctica.
is the creativity put into practice,
Sí, ya la
the
tenemos,
hands-on
ya la
creativity.
tenemos.
This is already happening.
Ajá. ¿Qué sucede? Que aquí ¿recordáis que hacíamos aquí?
What's happening? You remember what they used to do here?
Producción. ¿no?
Here they used to do production, service,
Esto es lo que
feeding the
hacíamos.
people.
Por la mañana hacíamos un poquito de creatividad.
In the morning, they will do a little bit of creativity, but at night, the restaurant will be open and they will do production.
La diferencia es que ahora,
The difference is that right now,
que la mayoría del tiempo solo haremos creatividad.
the vast majority of the time, they will only do creativity.
Y dices, pero esto es muy raro.
Oh, man, you're going to say, this is strange.
¿Qué hacíamos en el taller?
Nope. This is what they used to do El Taller. You remember we were talking about it half hour ago?
No dábamos de comer.
In El Taller was a workshop. We were not feeding anybody.
¿Qué hacemos? ¿Más grande?
What are we doing?
Más
We're doing the
tiempo.
same, bigger,
¿No?
more time dedicated to
más
creativity, and more people and a bigger team dedicated to creativity.
Con libertad,
With freedom,
con las mejores instalaciones.
with the best
El máximo
possible
de tiempo.
equipment, the best installations,
Y
the
esto-
maximum amount of time.
El cambio es que esto,
So the big change is that this,
en vez de separar el bulli,
instead of being for El Bulli,
lo vamos a divulgar
we are going to be sharing that information within El
Por
Bulli
internet.
Foundation through internet with the world.
Tenemos un acuerdo con Telefónica, la empresa más importante de España, una de las empresas del mundo.
We
del
signed
mundo.
an agreement with Telefonica, which is one of the most important communication companies in the world,
Que
from
estamos
Spain,
trabajando ya ahora
which they are working already together
en cómo va a ser todo esto.
about how this is going to play out. How are we going to be developing this moment of sharing ideas through internet with the world?
En 2014.
And this is forward is going to be happening 2 years from now, in 2014.
¿Qué es ¿Cuál es lo mejor para divulgar?
What is the best thing to share information?
¿No? Bueno, entonces, ahora sí está el proceso.
How are we going to be sharing information? So this is the process. This is in the moment, this project, the foundation.
Hemos hecho un concurso con ESADE, London Business School, Harvard, Columbia y Berkeley.
With Harvard, Columbia, Berkeley, ESADE, which is a business school in Spain.
Para mejorar nuestro proyecto.
They all combine. They are trying to bring the best minds
A
to
nivel
their students, MBA students, to try to improve on the ideas and on the project as you are seeing it right now.
Non architecture, ¿eh?
No, we're not talking about architecture. We're not talking about the buildings, about the physical.
A nivel conceptual.
Conceptually,
a nivel de cómo se financia.
how are we developing El Bulli Foundation? What El Bulli Foundation is going to be developing into? So they're going to be bringing as many ideas from different people from different parts of the world to make sure that El Bulli Foundation will have its most possibilities of sharing that creativity with the
¿Con
world.
qué países
With what countries?
tendremos un acuerdo?
Well, they're talking about with which countries they will have kind of a relationship on research and
En
development.
junio nos lo presentarán.
In June 2012, we will be officially present the foundation,
Y vamos trabajando.
and we will keep working. We
El
will keep
lujo.
working.
El lujo.
What's the luxury?
El tiempo.
Time is luxury.
Bueno, vamos a tener tiempo
We're going to have time
para poder, bueno, ponerlo al día.
to make sure that they're going to be able to finalize every single corner of the project.
Está muy bien, esto no lo entiende nadie.
So if you're asking yourself, I don't understand anything, don't worry. No one understands anything.
Entonces, una de dos, o es que es muy nuevo el proyecto, es un proyecto diferente y nuevo,
And here is one or two issues, or that the project is really conceptually very new and is very different to anything done before in cooking or on anything else,
o es un bluff.
or it's a big bluff. It's one or the other.
Parece que es lo primero.
But he believes that is the
Pero,
first thing.
sí, sí.
That is something very unique and very special
¿Vale?
to talk about
Efectivamente.
creativity
Y
and cooking.
entonces, los que no sois cocineros,
So for the ones of you that are not cooks,
y diréis, pero tanto rollo para la cocina.
man, all these stories for cooking? Come
Yo,
on.
yo llego a casa y me hago ahí la tortilla y me hago la
I get
comida.
home and I make a little omelette and I don't complicate anything so much.
Sí, sí. Claro, si ahora viene aquí Dave y explica física,
If Dave, the professor, comes here and begins talking about physics,
todo el mundo a callar.
everyone will be like, shut up, because let's
Sí, sí,
listen.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes.
Sí, David, sí.
En cocina no.
But in cooking, probably Dave cannot do the same.
Todo el mundo comemos.
But everyone eats, right? Everyone eats.
Todo el mundo sabemos de cocina.
Everyone knows about cooking, right?
Todo el mundo tenemos referencia. Tenemos una referencia.
Everyone in this room, probably one way or another, has a reference
Ahora-
with the food world, with the cooking world.
Bueno, vamos a explicar un poco la diferencia.
I'm going to try to explain you the difference.
Y para esto vamos a hacer la fábula de la tortilla y la minifalda.
And for that, we're going to do a fable of the omelette and the miniskirt.
Es decir, que necesitaremos alguna chica con minifalda ahora después. ¿eh?
¿Necesitas una?
Necesitaremos, sí, vayan preparando.
Later.
Sí, sí.
Okay, anyone with a miniskirt, get ready, please.
Ya sé que es invierno, pero bueno.
We understand we're in the middle of winter, but
Bueno, aquí, cuando hablamos de cocina, haríamos cocina pública, cocina privada, ¿ok?
So when we talk about cooking, we will talk about public cooking and private cooking.
Privada es la que comemos en casa.
The private, the household, is the one that you eat at home, right?
Y dentro de la cocina pública hay muchos tipos de restauración.
And the public cooking is different kinds of restaurants.
Hay el fast food,
You have the fast food restaurants,
desde el fast food hasta Momofuku, ¿no? Que es gastronomía. ¿eh?
and we have David Chan here. So you have from a fast food restaurant all the way to Momofuku,
¿No? Que
a
es
very avant-garde high-end restaurant.
¿ok? Gastronomía. Entre medio hay muchos.
And in between you have a whole bunch of different restaurants and concepts.
Vamos a hablar de estos de aquí.
Let's only be talking about the very avant-garde high-end restaurants
Tenemos
of
una
the world.
imagen súper elitista.
We have an image that is very elitist about that type of cooking. That is very elitist, that only the few
Somos
can reach it.
casi demonios.
That we are almost demons. We are the devil.
¿sí? Cocina para ricos.
We are only cooking for the rich and the few.
Es verdad.
Well, it's true. Yeah.
Poco a poco.
Well, which
No,
is true,
es
the concept that everyone thinks about that.
Poco a poco está cambiando.
Slowly, this image
La imagen,
is changing,
porque
the image,
la gente entiende que gracias a esto
because people now began to understand that thanks to the very high-end restaurants,
se crea todo un movimiento,
all these restaurants, the very elitist restaurants,
ilusión, pasión,
they are creating this kind of movement,
que mueve esta parte.
passion, happiness,
Esta.
that is moving everything else before.
Esto no. Bueno, también sí. También,
Even
también.
the fast food industry.
Sí, también. Es decir,
Everything,
No, no.
everything before somehow it's being influenced for what these very high-end restaurants are doing.
Bueno, ¿ok? Te vamos a hablar de esto. ¿Y qué es cocinar?
And so, what is cooking? What cooking is all about?
A este nivel, ¿eh?
At the very high-end cooking, about, let's understand each other, 28 points and above on Sagat Guide.
Si hablamos de cocina no creativa,
If we are talking about non-creative cooking,
sí, reproducir.
we'll be only reproducing dishes.
Coger,
yeah?
coger un libro
You get a book
de Momofuku,
of David Chan,
David, y hace sus recetas.
and you do the same recipe that David is doing in Momofuku,
Y copiaría.
and you copy the recipe
Bueno.
ingredient by ingredient,
Bueno, esto sería lo que sería cocinar.
and this is what we will call
Reproducir.
cooking.
¿Qué sucede cuando hablamos de cocina clásica?
So what's happening? When we talk about classical cooking,
Aunque sea alta cocina,
even if we are talking about high-end cooking,
estas recetas
all these recipes,
han venido de algún sitio.
these recipes are coming from somewhere.
¿no? Hace 3 millones de años que se inventó el fuego.
You know, 3 million years ago, we began using fire
Y
for
durante
cooking,
años y años y años,
and over many, many years and
la
years and years,
humanidad hemos hecho cosas.
humanity has learned to do things with fire.
Unas han quedado,
Some of those things that we learned to do with fire remain, stay.
por lógica, el primer plato que hubo fue una costilla de dinosaurio a la parrilla.
Maybe if we are using logic, the first dish ever will be a dinosaur, you can choose the type, rib, grill.
Bueno, ahora lo hemos cambiado por una de vaca, vamos.
And now we have a beef or a
No,
beef
la
rib
parrilla, la parrilla.
grill.
Sí, sí.
So we went from
Más o
dinosaur
menos,
to
más o menos lo mismo.
a ribeye. More or less the same.
Pero
different size.
hay muchas recetas que se han hecho durante la historia que se han dejado.
But these many recipes over the many hundreds of thousands of years of history that they've been forgotten or they've been left behind.
Si cogen libros del 1300, 1400,
If you will open right now a book from the 1300s or the 1400s,
la mayoría
cookbook,
de recetas ya no se hacen.
many of the recipes that people used to cook 600-700 years ago, no one is cooking those recipes anymore.
Se han transformado, han cambiado.
So they've transformed, they've changed, or
Sin
some
embargo,
of them they've been
el huevo
forgotten.
frito continúa.
But the fried egg continues.
El huevo frito hay un cuadro de Velázquez
The fried egg, we need to remember there is a painting from a Spanish painter called Velázquez
¿no? Que se ve friendo un huevo.
that you see a woman a few centuries ago frying an egg.
Bueno, entonces hay otra. Después los cocineros podemos evolucionar estas recetas.
So what happens is that the cooks, los profesionales, the professional cooks, we can help to make sure that those recipes, traditional recipes, that we can help them to have an evolution.
Un consomé.
A consommé, like a beef soup. Everyone knows consommé.
Le puedes hacer más ligero que antes.
You can do a consommé that is very strong, or you can do one that is lighter than before.
El hojaldre le puedes poner mejores harinas.
The puff pastry, for example, you can put better quality flours, better quality butter to make sure it's lighter.
A una pizza pues le puedes poner menta en vez de albahaca.
For example, a traditional Italian pizza, instead of putting basil, you could add mint just to change.
La verdad que ya estaríamos ya en si es una evolución o una creación.
But then the question will be, is this an evolution of the dish, or is this a new creation?
¿Okay? Bueno, porque entonces el próximo paso de creatividad sería la combinación de productos.
Because the next step working around creativity will be the partnership between different products, uniting different products to create.
Los espaguetis con tomate.
For example, if you have spaghettis and you have tomato, you have spaghetti pomodoro.
Ya, pero esto no existía.
But this was something like didn't exist before.
Hasta hace muy poco tiempo.
Until very recently.
Porque el tomate no existía en Europa.
Because tomato was not European and was not available to Europeans.
Pues a quién se le ocurrió.
But someone had the brilliant idea to put spaghetti with tomato.
No habían postres con chocolate.
There were not desserts with chocolate.
Porque no había chocolate.
Because we didn't have any chocolate in Europe.
In the world.
In the world. Well,
porque había el cacao.
Well, we had cocoa beans, but we didn't have chocolate as we understand chocolate today.
La historia de la cocina ha sido así.
So this is different examples of how the history of cooking is happening in front of our own eyes.
Lo que llamamos la creatividad conceptual.
And at the very end, at the very top, we have what we call conceptual creativity.
Tenía un nombre horroroso, un nombre muy horroroso porque es pretencioso.
I mean, conceptual creativity, it's a name that is kind of
pretentious.
Very pretentious name, very bad name, but is what is happening at this high level of creativity.
¿Y qué es esto?
And what is that?
¿A quién se le ocurrió hacer un día una tortilla?
One day we had some brilliant person that had the idea of making an omelette.
¿Brilliant person o no brilliant person?
¿Una persona brillante o no brillante?
Porque igual fue suerte.
Maybe he was not brilliant. Maybe he was lucky.
Claro, puso allí los huevos y hostia, ¿qué es esto que es? Se han roto.
He put the 2 eggs in the pan and boom, oh man, what is this? An omelette.
Como no tenemos fecha.
Because we don't have a date of that moment.
Los historiadores, si hay alguno aquí.
If we have here any historian.
Sabéis que es muy difícil hablar de historia de la cocina con propiedad.
Probably any historian in the room will know that it's very difficult to speak about the history of cooking because we don't have the dates for everything.
Con una cronología.
With a chronology, a timeline of everything that has happened over the history of cooking.
Gracias a esta tortilla se hicieron muchas tortillas.
But thanks to that first omelette, we were able to make every single other omelette that you can find in any cookbook.
Después alguien se le ocurrió hacer una tortilla alargada, ¿no? Aquello hizo muchas tortillas alargadas.
But then this was a round omelette, but then someone had the brilliant idea to do a long omelette, let's say the French omelette.
¿No?
And after that idea, someone added different ingredients, and you had all these different hundreds of different long French omelettes.
Y vas a decir, esto tampoco es para tanto.
Hey, but what's going on? Why is this so important?
¿No?
¿No?
Si cogemos aquí una ensalada, concepto de ensalada.
Imagine for a second a salad, the concept of a salad.
De sopa.
Imagine a soup.
Un hojaldre.
Imagine puff pastry.
Cogemos el libro de Julia Child. ¿No?
¿De quién?
El libro de Julia. El libro de Julia Child.
Ah, the Child. Yeah, we will get, good accent.
No.
We get the book of Julia Child.
Child.
All right, that she has many books and hundreds of recipes.
Y quitamos el concepto de tortilla.
And we go and we take the concept of omelette.
El concepto de ensalada.
We take the concept of salad.
El concepto de sopa.
We take out the concept of soup.
todas las recetas con hojaldre.
We take out all the recipes with puff pastry.
No sé cuánto parte del libro se cae.
Probably many of the recipes of that book will disappear because we are not using those concepts.
El hojaldre, hace 500 años parece que se creó.
It seems puff pastry was invented around 5 centuries ago.
¿A alguien se le ocurrió hacer una tarta de hojaldre?
Someone had the brilliant idea of doing a cake of puff pastry.
¿A alguien se le ocurría ponerle crema?
And someone added whipped cream.
¿No? Y a alguien se le ocurrió ponerle fresas.
And someone added strawberries to the puff pastry and the whipped cream.
Hizo la tarta
And he made a cake.
de crema con fresas.
He made a cake with whipped cream and strawberries.
En el Amazonas hay 400 frutas que aún no se cultivan. aún.
In the Amazons, at the Amazons is more than 400 fruits that no one is cultivating, that they are wild in
Por lo
in
que
the forest.
ahora cada uno de vosotros
So if every one of you in this room,
podría hacer 400 su tarta
we could do 400 different
de hojaldre,
cakes of puff pastry
de hojaldre con crema
and whipped cream
con una fruta.
with one different fruit on every one of the new cakes.
Pero si no fuera por el primer hojaldre,
But if it wasn't for the first puff pastry that was invented,
no se podría hacer.
we wouldn't be able to create and to do this new
Entonces, para hacer
recipes.
esto,
So in order to come up with a concept
en cocina,
in cooking,
hace falta todo este rollo.
you need all this story that he's been telling you before.
¿Ok?
And that's where you need to
Para
be
hacer-
spending time on
Para hacer
creativity.
esto no.
But to do the beginning at the very bottom, you
Para
don't
hacer,
need that.
para hacer esto tampoco.
To do the next level, you don't.
Para hacer esto tampoco.
To do the next one, the combination of products, you don't.
Albert
either.
Adrià, mi hermano,
Albert Adrià, the brother of
en
Ferran,
Barcelona hemos hecho el ticket
in Barcelona, they open a new restaurant called Tickets.
y el máximo nivel es este.
And the maximum level they arrive at the restaurant is the combination, the association, the combination of different
Ni
products.
taller, ni puñetas, ni nada.
And they don't need taller, they don't need research, they don't need innovation.
O sea, lo sabemos en nuestra propia carne, ¿no? O sea,
We know it by our own experience.
entonces, bueno, entonces, ¿qué pasa? Que lo importante es ser el primero en crearlo.
So for him, the important is just to be the first one in creating that new concept
¿No?
that opens him new ways to keep doing
El
things.
máximo nivel de creatividad en cocina
The maximum level of creativity in cooking
es crear la tortilla.
is to create something like the omelette.
A veces sí,
Sometimes yes,
a veces no.
but sometimes no.
¿Alguien con la minifalda, por favor? ¿Una chica con la minifalda?
Someone with a miniskirt,
Por favor.
I mean,
Bueno, vamos. Please, please. Menos mal, aquí en Harvard son valientes. Es decir, aquí en Harvard son valientes. Va.
I don't know where we are going with this. I am the translator.
A ver. Va, hola, ¿qué tal? Bueno. Esto es una minifalda rara, ¿eh? Por esto.
Okay, this is a strange miniskirt because the pants.
¿Sabéis quién creó la minifalda, no?
Do you know who created the miniskirt?
Marijuán.
Marie Kwan.
¿Ok? Esto lo sabe todo el mundo.
Everyone knows about that, right?
¿No lo sabíais? En años, sí, esto es famoso. Jolín. Bueno, sí, no hay porque no es fácil. Mira en Wikipedia y ya está. ¿Sabes? No.
You go to Google or Wikipedia and you do inventor of the mini skirt. Bomba, you got it. Marie Kwan.
¿Qué pasa? ¿Que no habéis visto películas de griegos y romanos?
And think for a second. You've never seen a movie about Greeks and Romans?
Sí, ¿no? Joder, van con minifalda, ¿eh?
All the men are going with miniskirts. All the soldiers have miniskirts. Yes?
¿Qué hizo Maricuén?
What Marie Kwan did?
La conceptualizó.
Conceptualize the miniskirt.
No es lo mismo una minifalda en un romano peludo
Is not the same. A miniskirt in a hairy Roman soldier.
que esta belleza. No.
than this beauty of a person.
Thank you. Thank you. Entonces, a veces no se trata de ser el primero, sino de conceptualizarlo.
So, you see, sometimes it's not about being the first, but about being able to see and to conceptualize something like no one was able to see before.
Ahora, vamos a ver algunas tortillas
So we're going to show you now some omelettes.
Del bulli.
The concept of an omelette,
del bulli.
the invention.
A veces hemos sido los primeros, a veces no.
Sometimes they've been the first, sometimes they didn't.
Aquí, por ejemplo, está la utilización del nitrógeno líquido.
So here is about liquid nitrogen.
Bueno, no fuimos los primeros
They were not the first
porque todo el mundo conocía el nitrógeno líquido.
because by then everyone knew liquid nitrogen, especially scientists.
En este caso vamos a hacer aquí un globo
So here we have a balloon
con leche de coco
with coconut milk,
y gracias al nitrógeno se nos va a congelar rápido.
and thanks to the liquid nitrogen, it's going to freeze very quickly.
Vale. Espera, ya te diré. Entonces ves aquí estos globos.
So you see these balloons.
Esto es muy espectacular.
This is very, very a big show, very spectacular.
Bueno,
Wow. Wow.
Sí, la gente, ¿no? Ahora veréis, ¿veis?
You see what happens? They take away the balloon,
Esto es un huevo de dinosaurio.
and he calls this is a dinosaur egg, Jurassic,
Vale, para. Espera. Vale.
of coconut milk.
Entonces, aquí, ¿cuál es la tortilla?
So, what's the omelette concept? Are you with me?
No es el globo.
Here the concept is not the balloon.
El balón sería la de aquí.
The balloon will be one of the different omelettes that were invented later.
Esto sería la utilización de nitrógeno líquido.
Here, the important thing is about a different use of the liquid nitrogen.
Y vosotros diríais, esto es una tontería, esto es para hacer locuras.
But come on, this is nothing special.
Estos son los locos estos de la cocina de vanguardia.
This is all the crazy people of avant-garde Spanish cooking, of those people doing molecular cooking. They're all nuts.
¿Qué pasa?
What happens?
Si tú quieres hacer un sorbete de cualquier cóctel,
If you want to make a sorbet of an alcohol cocktail,
es imposible,
it's impossible
porque el alcohol no congela.
because we know that alcohol doesn't freeze.
El nitrógeno líquido está a menos 196 grados centígrados.
But liquid nitrogen is at minus 196 Celsius degrees.
Permite hacer cualquier cóctel
You are able to do any cocktail
en sorbete.
and transform it into a sorbet.
Si ahora compráis un libro de cócteles,
If you buy right now, you go to the shop and you buy a bookshop and you buy a cocktail book,
Dry Martini,
a dry martini,
americano,
americano,
Bloody Mary,
Bloody
cualquier,
Mary, whatever cocktail you want,
podéis, ¿vale? Hacer un sorbete.
you will be able to transform every one of those recipes into an alcohol cocktail sorbet.
Es una revolución.
This is a revolution.
Porque había algún cóctel que se podía hacer, un mojito, por ejemplo,
Because maybe with some cocktails that you could do, like mojito, that has a smaller quantity of alcohol.
pero con muy poco alcohol.
With very little alcohol, you could do that sorbet.
¿Ok? Entonces, esto es una tortilla.
So, to use the liquid nitrogen to make sorbet of alcohol-based drinks, that will be a new omelette, a new concept. Is that clear?
En el año 2002, Heston Blumenthal empezó a trabajarlo.
In the year 2002, Heston Blumenthal from the Fat Duck outside London, he began working with this.
Nosotros al final de 2003 empezamos
They began at the end of 2003.
y lo conceptualizamos, hicimos 300 elaboraciones.
But at El Bulli and Ferran, they began working with liquid nitrogen and they were able to conceptualize over 300 different elaborations using liquid nitrogen as the starter.
La próxima elaboración,
The next elaboration, the next concept,
aquí queríamos hacer un espagueti
the idea was to create a spaghetti
que el queso
where the cheese
fuera la pasta.
will be the spaghetti itself, that the pasta will be made out of the cheese itself.
Para esto hicimos un queso líquido.
To do that, they had to make like a liquid cheese. This is
Paramos un momento,
like the whey.
Esto es muy importante.
This is very important.
Cuando veis la jeringuilla,
When you see the syringe,
ustedes que dirán todos, uy, esto es químico.
wow, he's cooking with a syringe. It's a lot of chemistry
Sí,
here.
sí.
So strange.
¿Sabéis qué pasa, no?
You know what happened, right?
Es que es mucho más cómodo, ¿eh?
He's using it because it's so much more easier to work with the syringe than with anything else.
Antes lo hacemos con una manga de papel. Lo teníamos que hacer-
Before, they were doing it with a paper pastry bag
o de plástico.
or a plastic pastry bag.
Ahora sí, ¿vale? Es mucho más fácil.
And now with the syringe, it's piece of cake.
¿Vale? Bueno, y con esto hacíamos un espagueti.
And with this long tube, you see this clear plastic tube, they will fill it up.
Ostras.
And they were able to make a spaghetti.
Y le llamamos espagueti de 2 metros.
And they call it the 2-meter long spaghetti.
Jolín, y dijimos, hostia,
Wow.
pues ¿cuántos metros de espaguetis hay en un plato?
So, so they thought, man, when you eat a plate of spaghetti, the traditional, how many meters of spaghetti you eat?
Sí, 40 metros.
They kind of began doing some measurements, and you eat more or less 40 meters of spaghetti when you eat.
Entonces, ahora en los restaurantes hay que poner cuántos metros quieres.
So from now on, you in the restaurant should be asking you, how many meters do you want, sir?
10. Bueno, el sentido del humor forma
You know-
parte de la vida.
Humor is a very important sense. It's a very important thing to have as a
Y también
part
la
of your
cocina.
life. And also when you talk about cooking.
Como eso hay que hacerlo bien.
But you have to do it well.
Aquí, ¿cuál es la tortilla?
Okay, what's the concept of the first tortilla, of the first omelette here?
Es la utilización del agar-agar
Is the use of a gelatin, of agar-agar,
para hacer una gelatina muy moldeable.
to make sure that we are able to make a gelatin that is very malleable.
Este, por ejemplo, es una tortillita.
So this example will be a small omelette concept.
¿Eh? Porque no es tan importante.
Because
Vamos.
it's not so important, because that doesn't open you so many roads to new things. But it's a new concept nonetheless.
Claro, entonces, contra más conceptos de estos hagas, pues mejor.
So as many more concepts you're able to create like this, more things you're going to be able to create.
Este, por ejemplo, es una gran tortilla, muy grande, así de grande.
So the one he's about to show you, it's a very big omelette. It's a very big concept that opens you many different
Esta es la
roads.
esferificación.
This is the technique of spherification.
¿Y de qué se trata esto? Es de una esfera,
This is an sphere.
¿no? La idea era hacer una esfera
The idea was to make a sphere
sólida por fuera,
that will be hard in the outside,
líquida por dentro.
but liquid in the inside.
Bueno, entonces, esto no lo inventamos nosotros.
So this was not invented by El Bulli.
Esto ya existía en la industria de la alimentación,
In the food industry, they were using this technique.
pero se dejaba que estuviera dura.
But in the food industry, because they were doing huge quantities, they were letting the sphere to become very hard.
Nosotros retardamos
What they began doing was to make sure that they stop the gelation process a lot earlier.
y conseguíamos esto.
And they were able to achieve this perfect liquid sphere with a very thin membrane in the outside, but liquid
Gracias a
inside.
esto podemos hacer gnocchis líquidos,
Thanks to that, they can make liquid gnocchis.
caviar de melón.
They can make caviar,
O-
melon caviar.
O por ejemplo, comíais sopa de letras, ¿no? De pequeño.
When you were little, did you have the soups with the letters?
¿Que no?
The letter soup?
Pues nosotros hacemos que la letra sea la sopa.
But now we were able to make sure that the soup, the letter, will be the soup itself.
Es que, porque somos catalanes.
Because they are Catalan. And
¿Ok? Esto con Pere Castell, que está aquí,
this with Pere Castell, who runs Alicia Foundation and is here.
dialogamos mucho, bueno, sobre la esferificación.
They began a dialogue. They began talking about spherification between the chef and the scientist.
Desde el mundo de la ciencia
So they began having the conversation from the scientific world
y el mundo de la cocina.
and on the other side from the culinary world.
Y ahora podríamos hacer casi una conferencia
And probably right now we could do only a conference
que casi no entenderíais nada.
that probably you wouldn't be able to understand anything.
Es decir, de la cantidad de tipos de esferificación que hay,
Because now we were able to develop 100 kinds of different spherifications.
es un lenguaje muy complejo.
Has become a very complex language.
Bueno, pero no vamos a hacerlo.
But we're not going to do it today.
El próximo
The next one,
concepto, iremos a la natura después, Isa, ¿eh? No, haremos 2 o 3 más. La idea era aquí el briefing era muy claro, el concepto.
the concept here was very simple.
Queríamos hacer el hilo
They wanted to make like a filament, like
para comestible.
like a thread, but
Comestible.
a thread that was edible.
Entonces hicimos un caramelo
So they made a caramel
y una tecnología de la NASA,
and a technology from NASA,
un Black & Decker,
a Black & Decker,
con un accesorio
with a new accessory.
que lo fabricamos nosotros
Accessory.
y nos permitió hacer este anillo.
And you saw, they were able to do this amazing ring.
Bueno, este era muy claro, es decir, es una nueva textura.
They were able to develop a new texture.
¿Eh?
Beautiful.
El próximo, vamos a poner así. Este es un ejemplo clarísimo de que lo importante es no ser el primero, sino conceptualizar.
This is a perfect example that sometimes is not the most important to be the first, but to create the concept.
Millones de personas han visto esto.
How many times you've seen this?
Y, en la
Cotton
cocina-
candy, right?
y los cocineros.
And the chefs, we've seen it too.
Nadie lo conceptualizó hasta el año 2003
No one really conceptualized cotton candy
en la cocina.
in cooking.
No hay recetas con esto.
We have no recipes with that.
Y nosotros lo que hicimos, hemos hecho muchas cosas,
And what they've done, and they've done many things,
la descontextualizamos
they did completely the opposite.
y lo convertimos, lo chafamos
What they did was they got the cotton candy that is very airy and very light, like a cloud, and they put it in between paper and they smash it with a rolling pin.
y hicimos un papel comestible.
So all of a sudden, the cotton candy that was like a cloud become a paper, but in this case, a paper that was edible.
Con el concepto de las flores, de que están en un libro secas, ¿sabes?
With the concept of the flowers, you know, in the old days that you had the books that they had the flowers in between and they will dry.
Es muy poético.
This
Para
is
aquí, para
like
aquí,
a
para aquí,
poem.
para.
It's very poetic.
Esto es ¿ves? Entonces podemos hacer o algo muy poético.
So you can do something very poetic, very romantic.
Cuando vienen al bully y te daban esto era un momento emocionante.
When people came and they give you the flowers, that was a very emotional moment, very
Ibas cogiendo
sensual.
el papel
You know, you will grab the paper
y cada trozo de papel tenía un gusto y
and you
un
will
olor
be
de
breaking
flor.
the pieces and you will have a different flavor of a
O
different
con
flower.
esto podemos hacer provocar.
Or
Después
you
natural.
can do the contrary. You can be
Después
poetic or you can be provocative. You can be,
Aquí.
I'm going to challenge you
Vamos,
today
dale play con esto.
with that.
Esto es la momia de Salmonetes.
They call this the red mallet mummy. Red
No.
mallet mummy? The mummy?
Claro, fíjate que lleva allí momia de Salmonetes.
The red mallet mummy. Red mallet. And I'm paying for this? Come on.
La gente decía, oh.
And people, wow, man.
Esto está. Bueno, en la cocina china se comen las espinas de salmonetes, hay de pescado fritas, ¿no?
In Chinese cooking, you go China
Vamos,
and they eat
Natura.
the fry bones of the fish and nothing happens.
Bueno, y con esto
So with this,
tú puedes crear un lenguaje,
you can begin, with many of these concepts, you can start writing a language, a new
un
language,
estilo.
and you can create a new style.
Vamos a ver uno.
And he's going to show you a new style, Natura, the book of that they did Albert on him, about desserts.
Vamos a ver.
Natura says everything, right? Natura. Take a look at the images.
Bueno, este es un estilo que se inició más o menos en el año 2005.
This is a style that was developed in 2005.
Bueno, y donde están muchas de estas tortillas.
And where there you will find many of these different conceptual omelets, all within every dish.
Es decir, ¿recordáis? ¿Vale? Es decir, estas técnicas, estos conceptos,
All
estas
the different
elaboraciones,
techniques, all the different concepts, they began showing up in every single dish.
sirven para construir platos.
So all these different concepts allow you, like a language, that you use words, you use letters and you use words to create this new language.
Es decir, en el taller
In the workshop,
hacíamos las tortillas
they will create the omelets,
y
the
en el
big
bulli
concepts,
hacíamos los platos.
and in el bulli, they will create the dishes inspired on these big concepts.
¿Ok?
Do you see the difference?
Pero si lográbamos hacer un concepto como el papá,
If they were able to create a concept like the barbapapa, like the cotton candy,
podíamos crear miles de platos.
they could create thousands of different dishes.
¿Entendéis?
You understand?
¿No? Y esta es la gran diferencia
And that's the big difference
cuando uno crea
when you create,
para, bueno, pues para pasar, para que a la gente le guste.
when you create only to have a good time and make sure that maybe some
Claro.
of your guests, your
¿Vale?
customers will
o,
enjoy it.
o para abrir caminos.
Or, like when he creates, that he always creates to try to open new roads,
Right.
new highways that
Right.
take you to different
Entonces,
parts.
el Bulli Foundation,
So at the Bulli Foundation,
la idea es que ayudar a la gente
what the Bulli Foundation will do is to help people
haciendo tortillas,
creating the big conceptual omelets, the big concepts,
pero que la gente haga sus platos.
but so people can do their own dishes.
Porque es que si no, lo que harán será copiar.
Because if not, what we all do will be to copy.
Si hacemos los platos,
If
nosotros
we make the dishes also,
en Internet solo enseñaremos las tortillas.
what the Bulli Foundation will do through internet sharing all the information will be to share the concepts,
Porque,
to
claro,
show the omelets,
Si no, no
the
estamos
first
creando
omelets.
si no, el espíritu de la creatividad.
Because if you don't give opportunity to then everyone to be creative on their own with
How-
those concepts, without creativity, wow, creativity is the most fun of in this case of cooking.
Y dice, bueno, oye, pues cada uno, que cada restaurante haga su creatividad.
But then you can say, okay, Farhan, and why you worry about that? Let everyone to do their own creativity, to create their own concepts on their own restaurants.
Los cocineros trabajan 14 horas cada día.
Hey, people, cooks, we work 14 hours a day.
Son 3 o 4 en la cocina.
We are 3 or 4 people in the kitchen.
Trabajan como negros.
We work very, very heavy. We work very hard.
¿no?
I'm doing.
Y la idea es que hay que ayudarles.
And you have to help them.
¿No? Si no, no pueden.
Because if not, we cannot handle 14 hours a day, working hard, long hours, and also create the new concepts.
Un pequeño restaurante no puede.
A little restaurant cannot do all of those things at once.
Un pequeño restaurante no puede crear.
A little restaurant has a lot of difficulty creating new concepts, new
Le
models.
le tienes que ayudar, ¿no? en la creatividad.
So this will be a gift from him to every single restaurant, every single chef, every single person that loves cooking around the world, helping them with the big concepts, helping them with the creativity so they can be creative on their own, applying new things to those
Y
little
este es el
concepts.
motivo por lo que hacemos.
And that's the reason why he's doing El Bulli Foundation and why he will share all the information like he has always done, sharing everything they do and everything he knows.
Bueno, pues ahora demos un cuarto de hora para preguntas.
So, 10, 15 minutes of questions?
No. Dave, ¿no?
Time for a few questions. Farhan says he'll answer some. Max back there.
During all those years doing both creativity for 6 months of the year and production 6 months of the year, you were saying you needed more time, but why did you need the same people to create and produce? Why didn't you just have, I mean, maybe that's what you're doing now with this foundation, but have a restaurant that's open full time, all the year. And I go to the business school, so I'm really thinking about why you're leaving all this money on the table.
Wow.
Okay, can you make it shorter, very quick? Tell me quick.
So why did you need to have the restaurant open for 6 months of the year and the creativity for 6 months of the year instead of?
Translation was no good. Okay.
So my main question is, why did you need the same people in the creativity and in the production?
¿Por qué necesitas la misma gente en la creatividad y en la producción? Porque la ha visto a lo mejor Oriol, que está en la creatividad,
Porque
la misma gente que está en la producción.
para transmitirlo.
Because you know, maybe it's because you saw some people like Oriol. It's to being able to share the passion also, no? It's not only the creativity.
Muy buena cuestión.
But it's a very good question.
En el año 98,
In the year 1998,
el equipo creativo
the creative team
estuvo
was,
en Barcelona
the creative team used to work
todo el año.
in Barcelona all year, in Barcelona city, okay?
Y venían algún día,
And once in a while, 1 or 2 days a week, they will drive 2 hours north to El Bulli. So the creative team was in the workshop in Barcelona and only 1 or 2 days in El Bulli.
no había conexión.
But you know what happened? There was not a connection.
Cada disciplina es diferente.
You know, every discipline is different.
Por ejemplo, cualquiera de vosotros vendría aquí
So any one of you
y explicaría
will come here
su relación con la creatividad.
and you will explain your relationship with creativity from your point of view, from depending from what world are you coming
Porque
from.
todo el mundo hace creatividad. Todo el
Because at
mundo.
the end of the day, bigger, more or less, everyone does some kind of creativity.
Hacer que digas, la diferencia son las consecuencias.
The important thing here, the difference about creativity is the consequences. What happens after that creativity, after what you've created? What's happening with that?
Y cada uno tiene unas características.
And so everyone has a different characteristic.
Por ejemplo, nosotros,
For example,
los cocineros,
us, the cooks,
y hablo en serio,
and he's talking very seriously,
podemos matar. Podemos matar.
we can kill, food security.
Podemos envenenar.
We can poison people, we can,
Esto es muy peligroso.
and this is really dangerous.
Bueno, estamos todo el día en tensión
We are every day in tension
que los productos estén en buen estado.
to make sure that the products we receive are in good condition.
Porque si quieres envenenar radical,
Because, you know, to poison someone in a radical
pero
way to kill.
intoxicación hay miles cada día.
But
en
you
el
know,
mundo.
intoxications happen hundreds of thousands of them around the world every day.
Esto ya te hace muy diferente.
You know, that makes our profession very different.
Los productos se mueren.
We need to understand that the products, you know, they die,
¿no? Tú eres
they rotten,
tú eres un,
they got bad.
un literato,
If you are a
periodista,
literate, you are a reporter,
la pluma no se muere, ¿eh?
you know, you use your pen or your
Como
computer,
mucho-
you know, your pen is not dying.
Como mucho se queda sin tinta.
At the most, you will lose the ink in the pen,
¿La pones?
but you put the new ink in
Pero
the
dejamos-
pen and you can keep writing with the
Pero, por
same
ejemplo,
pen.
un literato o
But,
es un trabajo muy solitario.
But you know, a reporter is a very solitary profession.
Es
You're
difícil
alone.
hacer un equipo.
It's very difficult to work, you know, as a reporter, as a team.
Sin embargo, Dave trabaja en equipo.
But, for example, Dave, he works within the context of a team,
O nosotros.
like as the chefs.
Entonces, cada disciplina es un mundo.
So, you know, every different profession, it's a different world.
Entonces, hace falta esta conexión entre la creatividad y la producción.
So you need this connection between creativity and production. Yes?
I would just like to say thank you, Chef Jose and Chef Andre, for creating this opportunity for us to be here tonight. My question is this. You are an influence and inspiration to great minds such as David Chang, as well as humble home cooks such as myself. Who would you say and why has been your great inspiration?
¿Quién ha sido y por qué tu mayor inspiración?
Mi inspiración, la gente los cocineros que trabajan 14 horas cada día.
His inspiration are the chefs that work 12, 14 hours a day, very hard,
En un pequeño restaurante.
in a restaurant.
¿No? Cada día,
Every day,
sin ningún reconocimiento.
without any recognition, more often than not.
¿No? Porque pensamos que todo esto de la cocina es todo el mundo glamuroso.
Because now, we think, wow, chefs, rock stars, a lot of glamour.
Muy poco.
It's not true.
Yo empecé fregando platos.
He began washing dishes,
Y sé lo que es eso.
and he knows what that means.
A nivel más de cocina,
When you talk about cooking,
la gente de la Nouvelle Cuisine. Los cocineros de la Nouvelle Cuisine.
so answering you, his inspiration from the culinary point of view will be the chefs of Nouvelle Cuisine, the French chefs of Nouvelle Cuisine,
Cambiaron la historia de la cocina.
because they change the modern history of cuisine, of cooking.
Cuando él me pregunta cuáles son los mejores cocineros del mundo,
If now you are gonna ask him which ones are the best chefs in the world,
o los mejores arquitectos,
or the best architects,
o los mejores diseñadores,
or the best designers,
yo diré no sé.
he will tell you, I don't know.
Yo sé quién es el mejor corredor de 100 metros.
He can tell you who is the best 100 meters runner,
Porque se mide.
because his measurements,
¿No? Se
the
mide.
quickest,
Es
he's the
indiscutible,
best.
es indiscutible.
You cannot challenge that. The quickest, we know who is the quickest in the
En,
100
en
meters.
cocina solo te puedo decir los más influyentes.
In cooking, he can only tell you who are maybe the most influential.
Que José Andrés es un cocinero muy enfrente de Estados Unidos, está claro.
Yeah.
Que David Chan es un cocinero muy influyente de Estados Unidos.
That David Chang is a
No,
very
no.
influential
No, no,
chef
no.
in the United States. That's clear.
¿Por qué? Porque son inspiración.
Because those chefs are inspiration for people.
Hay seguramente cocineros tan buenos como ellos dos.
Probably is cooks as good or better than David Chang.
O mejor.
Or probably better.
Y mejor que Ferran Adrià.
And
¿no?
probably better than Ferran.
Pero no tienen ninguna influencia.
But maybe they have no influence.
Ah.
And that's, again, food for thought.
Hi, thank you for sharing. I teach spicy Chinese cooking, Tai Chi, and the language. And my question is, what's your thoughts of the concept of fusion authentic Chinese food with what you have accomplished?
Que vienes de China.
¿Cómo mezclaría así el concepto
Ah,
Thank you.
de China con lo que tú has hecho?
Si ha visto, hemos dicho antes, lo he quitado, Occidente.
So before we spoke about Occident, right? Europe, America.
I remember, ¿eh? ¿Por qué? Porque
Why?
el mundo, en general,
Because the world, in general,
aún hoy,
even today,
al mundo occidental no pensamos que estamos solos.
because we think in Occident that we are alone in the world.
Si pregunto a los chefs
If we ask to the chefs,
españoles
Spanish chefs
o americanos,
or American chefs,
los buenos chefs,
to the top chefs of America,
a
Spain, Europe,
5 cocineros chinos,
and we ask those chefs to give us the name of 5 Chinese chefs,
no lo saben.
we have no clue.
No. Siempre cuidado. Si preguntamos 5 cantantes chinos, tampoco.
But if we ask about 5 Chinese singers, we don't have a clue either.
Y si decimos 5 pintores chinos, tampoco.
And if we ask about 5 Chinese painters, we have no clue either.
A no ser que seas un experto en arte.
Or putting aside that maybe you are an expert on art or on music, and maybe you know.
Entonces, no ha habido un diálogo.
But there is not been a dialogue between Occident and China or Asia.
Ahora es el gran momento.
Now is the big moment. Now it starts the big moment.
Las dos zonas donde van a ser importantes en el futuro,
The big two areas in the world that are going to be very important in a near future,
China,
one is China
la otra Latinoamérica.
and Latin America.
Latinoamérica es toda la cultura maya, de México, de Perú, los mayas, tal.
It's all the ancient cultures of Latin America, the Mayans, the Aztecs,
Y sobre todo la pasión de los latinos.
but especially the passion of the Latin people.
Y por otro lado, toda la cultura china.
And on the other hand, on the other part of the world, all the history of China, the many hundreds and hundreds, the
decían
many
el-
centuries of history of China.
Me decían el otro día,
The other day, someone was telling me,
en China, que estaba en China,
he was in China, and they were telling
hay
him,
80.000 recetas,
it's more than 80,000 recipes.
son 80 libros
That's 80 books
de 100 recetas.
of 100 recipes each.
Sí, a mí me hace falta 30 años para estudiarlo.
He's going to need over 30 years to study
Para estudiarlo.
all the, only to study Chinese cooking
Y
and
es
to understand it.
Para mí es fantástico,
And he feels that's amazing, that's fantastic.
porque no sé nada
Because that means he has no clue about Chinese cooking.
de la cocina china.
About-
No, sí, no.
And he has all this opportunity of learning.
A ver, fuera, ¿cuántos tipos de cocina hay en China?
How many-
No hay, ya lo sabrá.
So he's asking you how many types of cooking we have in China. You should know. So he
¿Cuántos
doesn't-
tipos hay?
How many types?
Muy bien, 8.
8.
Bueno, yo hasta hace un mes no lo sabía.
A month ago, I didn't know about it.
¿No? Entonces es fantástico
So it's amazing
para los cocineros,
for the cooks.
porque no paramos de aprender.
Because there we have so much more room to keep learning.
Y el diálogo en China va a ser brutal.
And the dialogue with China is going to be brutal in the years to come. It's going to be something, a great opportunity
Entonces,
for
no le
learning.
puedo hablar de la cocina china
So he cannot tell you about Chinese cooking
porque será una falta de respeto.
because probably, will be a lack of respect to Chinese cooking and
frivolizar.
its legacy. It will be frivolous.
Vas reflexionando,
But you go through a thinking process.
por ejemplo,
As an example,
¿qué pasa ahora con la cocina china?
what's happening right now with Chinese cooking?
Que los productos lácticos ya son asimilados por la cultura china.
That recently the lactic products, milk products, and others now are slowly being accepted into the culture, into the Asian culture, into the Chinese culture.
Es una revolución.
This is, if you think about it, this is becoming kind of a revolution.
No hay recetas con nata, con
Because
leche,
there
con
are
mantequilla.
not traditional recipes
Con
with
queso.
milk, with cheese, with heavy cream.
Está la soja.
Well, we have soy milk,
Solo esto ya es
but it's different.
una revolución para China.
So only that is really a revolution within China.
Fíjate los postres.
Think the revolution within Chinese desserts by the addition of all those
Y cuando
milk
cuando
byproducts.
los cocineros chinos hagan postres con chocolate,
And imagine when the Chinese cooks will begin doing recipes with chocolate.
claro, sí, no hay postres con chocolate.
Think about it. It's not like there is a lot of recipes with chocolate in China.
Es fantástico.
But that's why this is an amazing opportunity. It's
Esta
going to
gen-
be a lot of
en el
things
mundo de la
happening.
cocina, esta generación es una maravilla.
So in this moment, the generation today of cooks, it's a very unique moment because it's a lot of opportunities ahead of this generation.
One more question.
Hello. So you've probably been asked this a lot, but I was wondering what your favorite dish or conceptual tortilla that you've ever made was, and maybe what your favorite dish is to eat.
¿Tu concepto favorito o tu tortilla favorita? Y
¿Qué me gusta
el plato
comer?
que más te gusta comer a ti.
Bueno, fíjate que esto fuera un cangrejo.
Okay, so let's dream. Imagine for a second that what he has in his hand is a crab,
Míralo
a
bien.
Maryland crab.
Míralo bien.
And hold on, you see a crab? Yes. You are not allergic, right?
¿Y qué ve?
So look into the crab.
¿Qué ve?
What do you see? What would you see? The claws and what else? And the little eyes moving.
Y fantástico para comer, ¿no?
Amazing to eat, right?
No, es delicioso.
Delicious.
Pues es una araña, ¿eh?
It looks like a spider, man. An ugly spider.
Sí, sí.
Yep.
Claro, es fantástico.
Sure, it's amazing.
Si le doy una araña,
If he gives you a spider,
¡ay, qué raro!
wow, the spider is so strange.
No, señor,
No, no, no.
no hay comida rara.
There is not strange food.
Hay gente rara.
It's strange people. Weird. It's not weird food, it's weird people.
Porque... ¿ok? Ver, a partir de aquí, todo es subjetivo.
So, if we start the conversation from here, everything is subjective to everyone's world. Yes?
Más que una pregunta, quería tomarme un minutito para decir gracias con letras. Gracias me queda chiquito. Soy la esposa de un chef que trabaja 15 horas por día y lo que le falta es eso, tiempo multiplicado por 100.
Para ellos va.
La inspiración.
Vamos a ver sobre bastante.
Thank you. Thank you. Bueno, esto. Muy bien. Thank you.